I think the bank has done a great job over the years to assist the continent develop itself. And the emphasis of the bank, which is poverty reduction, has always resonated with the member countries. The high five today are also emphasizing the areas that the member countries are in need of assistance. So we really very much appreciate how the bank is our bank, the African Development Bank, our bank, and how we always rely on the resources that come from the bank, resources that the bank itself has, and resources that they draw in from other institutions and also other funders. So we're very pleased with the way the bank is doing. I think the bank is doing very well in working with the member countries. Specifically over the last few years, I think the bank has decentralized adequately. Today, I think today we were given the number of countries that the bank has offices, and it continues spreading, not too thin, but just adequately. And the bank is today closer to the countries than ever in the past, and I think that increases the effectiveness of the bank operations, and the bank's activities are now bearing fruit. Therefore, the social activities that the bank is doing, the Feed Africa, all those things are very, very important. It's our Africa. We feel good dealing with the African Development Bank. We really do, because the staff of the bank most of them are from Africa, and they know the cultures. They know what African requirements are, African demands are. Most of the people grew up in the same circumstances that these countries are in, and therefore we really do appreciate and support our bank to develop even more. I am expecting a lot from Busan, and what a decision to make when you are talking about industrialization, then to meet in Busan, because that country a few years back was not as industrial as today, and therefore we expect a lot. We expect the issue of private sector investment money coming to Africa. I think it's the appropriate place to meet if you are going to talk about private sector development. Busan is the place to meet. So we are expecting a lot of industrialization. We are expecting a lot of meeting about what we can offer to businesses, what we can offer in terms of land and in terms of resources, in terms of developing new resources, and in terms of industrializing our continent. That is the place to meet. I think it's where the East and the West and the Center and everybody meets in Busan. So we are looking forward to meeting, and we are looking forward to explaining and putting on the table our demands, our requirements, and at the same time the resources that we have to develop our continent further. I think we can learn a lot from South Korea, particularly in the area of industrialization. I am old enough to say that South Korea developed in the last 30 years. I think 35 years ago, I was in college, and most of the people in that school that I was in were from South Korea. They were all studying engineering. They were all studying engineering in one big university in the US. And you couldn't talk about South Korea then. You couldn't talk about South Korea then. I think it was very underdeveloped. I don't know how it was rated 35 years ago. We can go back and look. But today, it is one of the most developed, industrialized country. I think we can learn a lot about the road that they have traveled, what they have done differently. We have to learn a lot from them and China at the same time. I think we can learn from the East more than we can learn from the West, as far as Africa is concerned. I think we have to line our activities better with them than with the rest of the world. Where the industrialization for the West was 1800. Industrialization for the East was just a few days ago. It was just a few years ago. So they still people who actually grew up in poverty, who are today mega million companies, can be found in South Korea. It can also be found in China. And so these really are they have to be our source of information and source of inspiration, so to speak. So we are all looking forward to going to Busan and meeting with the rest of the world who are interested. Africa is the continent that is still to develop, and therefore they are also looking forward into places where they can invest their money in. So it is really a combination of, where the resources are and where the skills are, and putting them together. Africa and Asia together will be the best. We are looking forward to it. I think in every country we have two resources. One is people, the other one is natural resources. And included in the natural resource are the land, what is in the land you have, and what you can use that land for, both inside and outside the land, and what you have in the oceans. Another equally important element, maybe more important if you look at Japan, is people. Even if you don't have anything else, you have people. When you have people, you can use people, you can skill people, you can equip people, so that they can create the resources. It is people who create the resource, not the other way around. And so Africa is full of people, full of youth. In my country, for example, we are told that we are about, let's say, 75% younger than 40 years. And therefore, where we have to put emphasis is development of our youth, skilling them, giving them the necessary skills, giving them the necessary tools to make life better for themselves, and then finding the resources for them to be employed. And I think the bank is doing very well in those areas. There is a program in the bank, I think, is skilling the youth or something. I don't remember exactly what the terminology is. But the bank, and the president mentioned it today, the bank is putting a lot of emphasis on the area of youth employment. That is the area that I think we should put a lot. And even in that particular area, we can learn more from South Korea. They have done a great job putting a lot of emphasis on skilling people. First of all, designing what they want the country to be, and then equipping it, and you cannot remove people from there. And youth employment, skilling the youth, giving them necessary skills to be able to deliver what you want, and finding the resources for them to get employed. They are very relevant. I think it was put together by somebody who knows a lot about Africa, Dr. Adesina, and I don't know. I think some are more relevant to different countries have different areas of emphasis. The very fragile countries like mine, Somalia, the area that we put a lot of emphasis is Feed Africa. That theme, Feed Africa. We have a lot of drought, and therefore a lot of famine. I think the last famine in Africa is still in Somalia. No, not today, but very recently. Those are the areas that we think the bank is putting a lot of emphasis, and these are the areas that we ourselves also we have to put emphasis. And Feed Africa means, of course, obviously, literally, finding adequate food for people. But if you go deeper, it's managing one's resources. In Somalia, where there is always a drought, there is also more water than anybody can use. There is more water, but at the same time more drought. It is that dichotomy. It is that unfortunate dichotomy that you find in Somalia, and maybe a few other countries. Somalia is suffering from drought, when countries that have no adequate rain are not suffering from any shortage of food. So it boils down to one thing. I think there is a carrying capacity of the world. Everywhere you go, where there are people, obviously there is a reason for people to be there. There is enough adequate food everywhere that people survive and live. But it's it depends on one's own resources of their management of their resources. So Feed Africa for me is the most relevant one for us. That's the area that I think other countries will find the rest of the 5 to be more relevant. But that is the one that I find most relevant for us.